from Adrift at Sea. www.thehindu.com. Adrift at sea. Yesterday, 10:44 p.m. A dramatic but inevitable calving of a trillion-ton iceberg from the Larsen Sea ice shelf in Antarctica raises the question, did a warming atmosphere have a significant impact on the process? Scientists from Project Midas, a UK-based Antarctic research project that has been looking at the ice shelf for many years, have said the formation of icebergs is natural and no link to human-induced climate change was available in this case. Yet, the impact of such a loss on the stability of the ice shelf itself may not be benign. Should it disintegrate, glaciers normally feeding into the floating shelf may have nothing to restrain them and could then contribute to sea level rise, possibly at a slow rate. Such fears are based on the unambiguous data on the thinning of the Larsen ice shelf. Researchers said in 2003 that Antarctic peninsular ice shelves retreated each year since 1980 by about 300 sq.km. This erosion has been interspersed by two previous collapses of smaller ice shelves, Larsen A in 1995 and Larsen B in 2002, the latter providing strong evidence of subsequent accelerated glacier flow into the sea. While any negative impact of the latest event will likely be felt years or decades later, it highlights the need to stop continued warming of the planet from man-made carbon emissions. Antarctica is a climate stabilizing factor, and the importance of the marine West Antarctic ice sheet was highlighted by US scientists over 4 decades ago. In the context of rising emissions from the burning of fossil fuels, a cautionary note was sounded on warming seas hastening the melting of the shelves that hold its great mass. Indeed, the point made was that except for man-made causes, there was no anticipated factor in the natural geological cycle that would disturb Antarctica. The separation of an iceberg almost 6,000 square km in size from the ice shelf shows the importance of such alarms. Fortunately, newer satellite technologies, which were not available during earlier instances of iceberg carving, will help in the study of the fragile peninsula region and Antarctica as a whole. Among the stark effects of changes could be a shift in biodiversity. Species like emperor penguins, which depend on sea ice to complete their life cycle, are at risk if ice cover declines. Any dramatic changes will only add to the worry of irreversible effects of climate change, given that the Arctic and Greenland have also been losing ice cover. Clearly, the loss of a massive portion of the Larsen Sea ice shelf marks another milestone in the evolution of this remote region. Yet, the lack of long-term data on Antarctica, as opposed to other regions, makes it difficult to arrive at sound conclusions. What is clear is that the last pristine continent should be left well alone, with a minimum of human interference, even as research efforts are intensified to study the impact of human activities in the rest of the world on this wilderness. Comments. Visit website. Unsurprising verdict. www.thehindu.com. Unsurprising verdict. Yesterday, 10:42 p.m. Madras High Court verdict striking down the Tamil Nadu government order that had earmarked 85% of seats in undergraduate medical and dental courses for students from the state board is no surprise at all. Once it was laid down by law as well as by the Supreme Court that the national eligibility cum entrance test will be the sole basis for admission to medical courses, it was unlikely that any court would have allowed a classification of students based on the stream through which they passed their higher secondary examinations. Tamil Nadu had abolished entrance tests in 2006 and since then has been admitting students based on their marks in the qualifying school examination. The only way out for the state was to get its legislation for an exemption from NEET approved by the president. In the absence of presidential assent for its bills, it was forced to bring in reservation for state board students through an executive order, but could not defend it in court. The state government will have to shoulder shoulder the blame for the confusion over its admission policy this year, as well as the tension it has caused to students. It ought not to have given the impression to students that presidential assent to its bills was imminent and that NEET would not be the basis for admission this year. Last year it managed to convince the center to amend the law for a one-time exemption for undergraduate courses, but it did not utilize the time to prepare students to master the demanding NEET syllabus. However, the fact that the state government failed to upgrade its educational standards does not mean Tamil Nadu's apprehensions about NEET do not merit consideration. The fear that NEET would be insurmountable for students from rural and underprivileged backgrounds and those who cannot afford coaching centers is real. So too is the concern that the government may not get committed doctors to serve in rural areas if most of the seats are cornered by CBSE students. According to the government, if a NEET-based merit list is drawn up, 72% of medical seats in government colleges and government quota seats in private colleges would go to CBSE school students. Tamil Nadu is able to run its network of hospitals efficiently mainly because of a recruitment policy that gives weightage to service candidates in postgraduate medical admissions. NEET may be an answer to rampant commercialization of medical education, but it should not be at the cost of the government's socio-economic goals. In a country with regional, economic and linguistic disparities, uniformity is no virtue, especially when it is thrust on unwilling states. The political leadership at the center as well as in the states would do well to work together to evolve a flexible admission policy that gives some leeway to the states and meets the triple goals of fairness, transparency and freedom from exploitation in admissions. Comments visit website.